So, okay, at first glance, you may look at this and think, what is this, right? The way I can put this into words is, let's say you have a house, okay? And let's say there are robbers trying to break into your house every single day. And your goal is to obviously, have security, have people that make sure that the robbers cannot get through so that your house stays safe. That's what a remote event does. But an unreliable remote event is where you sacrifice some of the security in like exchange for performance, right? In exchange to get something back. So maybe in the case of the house, right, you remove one guard, which means that it's less safe, but now you save more money by not having the guard, right? Obviously, this means that sometimes a thief may pass through, right? Which obviously, in the case of real life, is horrendous. He's gonna steal everything and maybe even kill your family, right? So you don't want that to happen. Now, I have made a video on this before. However, I don't feel like I've shown you the proper way of using unreliables, right? So while before I just made them as like, oh, it's a new thing and it's pretty cool, I want to show you like them in action. So if I make a script, okay, and I make a local script, right? Because the whole point of events is that they like talk between server scripts and local scripts, right? And so what I'll do is I'm gonna have inside of replicated storage. I don't even know why I put the script here. Inside of replicated storage, I'll have a unreliable remote event, okay? Just like that. And what I'll do is I'll say local event is equal to game.replicated storage, wait for child, unreliable remote event. I'll copy this. And what we're gonna do is that from the server, or no, actually, no. Actually, I don't even know. Yeah, from the server, we'll send the message, or what should we do? From the client, why not? Let's do that. Because for the server, I'd need the actual client to send the message to, which is kind of annoying. So, but then to send the message to the server, I don't need anything. I can just send the message, right? So I can say event fire server, like so. And then we can say that, okay, events.on server event connect function. We get the player, but we don't really care about that. I will just, what should I do? Local counts is equal to 0. And then I'll print count, and then I will, how would I go about this? Because my goal here is to show you that like the events, so the whole idea is that the event will sometimes not fire, right? So if I were to take this fire event and I were to put it into a while loop, so while, I don't know, test.wait, every 0.2 seconds, let's say, or no, not even 0.2, 0.1. Every 0.1 seconds, let's say I fire the server, and I can just, I don't know, print count, and then just a count plus equals 1. So every 0.1 seconds, I'm going to be firing the event. So as you can see, it actually is printing, right? But I'm not sure if you're noticing. I already spotted there were 2 moments where the event kind of slowed down for a bit. And the reason it slowed down was because it tried sending the event, but because it wasn't secure enough, like for in exchange for better performance, it didn't pass the event. So I'm carefully looking, and I'm not sure if I've missed anything yet, but I've already spotted like 2 moments where it kind of slowed down. And I'm sure you probably have spotted some things as well. So that's kind of the idea here, right? Meanwhile, with an actual like normal event, this wouldn't happen. In fact, I'm not I actually think a fun thing we could try is if I make the regular remote event. So we'll say local event 2 is equal to game.replicated storage, wait for child, our remote event, and then I'll just have this in the other script, like so. I can make a local count 2, and this count 2 is going to be for, I'll just say reliable. Okay, count reliable. So count reliable is for the reliable event, and I'll do the same thing. So I'll say event 2 dot on server event connect function player. I'll print count reliable, and then I'll say count reliable plus equals 1, and then I'll fire event 2 fire server, like so. So I am curious to see if we actually will see a difference in them. Or actually, wait, no, I am right. Because it's a local script, I need to actually play the game in order to run it. So let's see. Okay, so yeah, so as you can see, right now they're in sync, right? But let's see, will there be a point where they'll be out of sync. So far they're still going strong. Because again, the reason it's unreliable, right? It's not that like, oh yeah, it has like a 10% chance to not run, right? Usually in a studio environment, especially when, I don't have any other events, I don't have any other code, it's just this. Usually, like, it's never gonna like not run, right? Like perhaps what I saw last time, maybe it was just like a little frame drop just for me, right? Maybe the events actually did go through, because right now, as you can see, both of them are in sync, right? Like they're not out of sync yet. They actually have the same exact numbers, meaning that the unreliable event hasn't failed a single time. Because if it has, then its number would be lowered by one compared to the reliable remote event, which safely makes sure that everything passes through. Now, if your game has a bunch of events firing at like at the same time, then that's a problem for the game, right? Then it's a problem because the game has to keep track of many events. The game has to keep track of like, okay, this, that, these calculations, those calculations. And sometimes if you fire an event, it might get lost in the process, right? So the whole point of a secure event, of like a regular remote event, how it works is it just sacrifices a bit of performance to ensure that the event gets to its location, right? Meanwhile, an unreliable, so like when it sends out the event, it has to keep track of it to ensure that it actually reached this destination. But if you're using an unreliable remote event, it just throws out the event and forgets about it. So it doesn't care if the event actually reaches its destination or not. So use unreliable remote events for situations where you don't really care if the event gets there or not, right? So for example, maybe you have some map where like every zero point 0.1 seconds you send out an event where like the player sees sparkles or something, right? And like they're not important, they're just like cosmetics, right? Then you can use unreliable remote events. However, if you have events which need to actually be passed through, like you need to make sure that they are fully passing through. Like for example, an event that like whenever the player holds their mouse, you want the server to keep getting events to like fire a gun, for example, right? Like you don't want your game to have a thing where like your gun just sometimes doesn't fire, right? Like you want to make sure that the gun is firing, which is why you would use a regular remote event. Like sure, you sacrifice a bit of performance, but who cares when you want your gun to fire, right? So unreliable remote events are there just to save performance when firing events for things that don't quite matter, right? Like okay, yeah, like if there's a tiny chance that like one particle won't be shown, like will that matter? No. Will that save performance? Yeah. Let's use an unreliable remote event. But if I need an event to actually pass through and do something, then let's use a regular remote event. That's kind of the idea, right? Now, obviously, the last thing you're thinking right now is byte blocks. What about unreliable remote functions? However, sadly, Roblox despises all of us, which is why we don't have them yet, okay? Maybe one day. I mean, a man can dream, after all. And yeah, check out the comments, for my amazing course. Join the Discord in the description. And we are back to basics. Thank you for watching.